Hey guys, how you doing? So I'm just on my way up to take a walk around the landfill in Shawnigan Lake today, and I thought I'd take you along for a little bit of a tour. But before we go, I wanted to show you this right behind me. That's Shawnigan Creek, and it's pretty dry. There's not much water in there, and that's because we haven't had very much rain. It's been a really long, dry summer, and when you don't get any rain, the small creeks and rivers start to dry up. But we'll get into why I showed you that later on. Let's go for a walk. How's that for a view? That's Shawnigan Lake. That's the landfill. Now this big pile of dirt that you can see behind me, this can contain things like dioxins, furans, hydrocarbons and PCBs. The thing that worries the residents is that eventually it's going to break through this liner that you can see underneath it and get down into Shawnigan Lake and into their drinking water supply. That liner's not very thick. And when I came up here and I was watching them install this, they were moving it around with a big excavator. I wonder if that had put any holes in it. And I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be a geotextile fabric underneath that as well. But I'm pretty sure that's not there either. One more thing about this is that it's supposed to have an anchor trench, according to the sort of diagrams. We've got rocks, but there's no anchor trench. Moving on. So that big white building you can see behind me, that's the soil management area, and from my understanding of it, that's where all of the contaminated soils that come to the landfill are supposed to go before they go into the landfill. Now, a couple of months ago, a question was raised about whether this structure is actually safe, because if we take a closer look at it, you can see a distinct dip in the roof. And that's because there was a bulge on the other side of that building. Now, doesn't look to me like they've fixed it. I wonder if they have. Moving on. Now this that you can see behind me, this is the Perpetual Pond, or the Unsettling Pond. Depends on who you speak to, they've all got their own name for it. But the thing that's really confusing me is that, and you remember when we walked in, there was the creek that was pretty much dried up. That's because we've been in drought conditions all summer. There's rivers and creeks drying up all over the province, and yet this puddle is still here. How is that? I did email the company and ask them, and I haven't had a response, but their website says that there's no specifically named aquifer beneath this site. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I do know that that puddle's still there. Now this is the Ephemeral Creek, and it's been running all year, even in drought conditions. So we have Shawnigan Creek drying up, we have creeks and rivers drying up all over the province, yet this tiny little stream is still running. How? Look. That's not because it's raining. It's here all the time. Now I'm not a hydrologist, I'm not a geological engineer, I am not an expert on any of these subjects, and I've never claimed to be. But I do have to ask the question, why is that puddle still there? Why is that creek still running? It just doesn't make sense to me. We've got rivers and creeks drying up all over the province, and yet they're still there. Is it possible that this landfill's been built on an aquifer? That's all I've got for you guys today. I love you all, and you'll see me again soon.